Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we are looking at something genuinely monumental. If Delhi's very first metro phase was all about putting the city on the map and setting up a basic skeleton, Phase 4 is stepping up to do something entirely different. It's here to finally close the missing gaps. We're talking about the single biggest expansion since the metro was originally built, a massive project that's going to completely redefine how millions of people move across the National Capital Region by 2035.
Now, right off the bat, you might be wondering, why spend all this time and money to expand the network that is already one of the largest in the entire world? I mean, the Delhi Metro is huge, right? It's iconic. But as you know, if you actually live there, despite its massive footprint, several incredibly dense parts of the city still rely way too heavily on cars, buses, and shared transport just to get around. We still have these huge, crowded pockets of the city that are practically disconnected from the rails.
So here is our quick roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to cover 1. Why Phase 4 matters, 2. The Aerocity to Tughlakabad corridor, 3. RK Ashram to Janakpuri, 4. Maujpur to Mukundpur, 5. Extending the metro network, and finally, 6. The bigger picture. If you happen to live, work, or commute anywhere near these lines, you're definitely going to want to stay tuned.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, why Phase 4 matters, and how we're closing those missing gaps. See, the big picture here is that the government isn't just blindly laying down tracks and duplicating old routes. It's about strategically connecting the underserved neighborhoods. And this whole strategy brilliantly illustrates the concept of transit-oriented development, or TOD. Basically, TOD is a style of urban planning that tries to pack as much residential, business, and leisure space as possible within walking distance of public transport. Phase 4 is designed from the ground up to support exactly this. By putting stations right where people actually live and want to work, the network becomes vastly more efficient, and honestly, the city itself just becomes way more livable.
When we look at the specific goals of Phase 4, you can see a very targeted approach. The planners want to fill those glaring connectivity gaps. They want to create brand new interchange stations, because let's face it, no one wants to be funneled into the same 2 or 3 overcrowded hubs every single day. They also aim to dramatically improve airport access and, crucially, connect those rapidly growing residential areas out on the edges of the city. This whole expansion is about making the current network smarter and capable of handling Delhi's explosive future growth.
Moving on to Section 2, Aerocity to Tughlakabad, linking South Delhi straight to the airport.
This right here is our first major micro solution, a brand new corridor cutting right across the south. Just take a second to wrap your head around this number. 23.6 kilometers. That is an incredibly impressive stretch of brand new infrastructure. It really puts into perspective the sheer massive scale we're talking about with just this one single addition to the map.
Let's actually trace this out. The key stations are going to include Aerocity, Maujpur, Vasant Kunj, Mehroli, Saket, Nagar, Kanpur, and finally Tughlakabad. I mean, think about how painful it can be to travel between those spots by road right now during rush hour. By weaving through these specific points, this new route directly hooks up major residential hubs to some of the city's most vital transit centers.
And here's the ultimate milestone benefit. Why this absolutely matters for you. It is essential for strengthening north-south connectivity while handing huge swaths of South Delhi direct access to the airport. Even better, it opens up brand new interchange opportunities. That means you can completely bypass those chaotic central interchanges you're probably used to dealing with. It acts as a massive pressure valve for the existing system.
Okay, on to Section 3, RK Ashram to Janakpuri. This is the highly strategic east-west corridor.
If that last corridor was all about the south, this one is the vital link for moving straight across the breadth of the city. At approximately 29 kilometers, I really want to emphasize that this stands as the longest individual corridor we're discussing in this phase. It is a massive undertaking that's going to totally rewire the city's commuting patterns.
The proposed stations weave through some incredibly critical zones: RK Ashram, Sadar Bazar, Pol Bangash, Ashok Vihar, Azadpur, Mukundpur, Madhaban Chowk, Piragarhi, and Janakpuri West. Just reading through that list, you can clearly see how it navigates its way through some of the busiest commercial centers and densest residential areas in the entire capital.
So what's the real-world impact? Well, this specific corridor radically improves east-west movement, and it efficiently distributes passenger traffic across the entire network. If you've ever felt totally trapped in a bottleneck trying to cross town, this is your solution. It introduces several new interchange points, spreading the foot traffic out rather than squeezing everyone into the center.
Next up is Section 4, Maujpur to Mukundpur, or as I like to call it, completing the orbital ring. This third major corridor plays a super unique targeted role in closing a long-standing gap. It's roughly 12.5 kilometers long. Now, sure, compared to the 29-kilometer beast we just looked at, this might seem kind of small. But as we'll see, even a shorter addition like this can have a massive systemic impact on how a city flows.
The key stations here are Yamuna Vihar, Bhajanpura, Kajri Khas, Jagadpur, Barari, and Mukundpur. And by adding these specific stations, the project finally links the eastern and northern sections of the Pink Line together.
The sheer magic of this line is that it creates a direct orbital connection. It entirely eliminates the need to travel all the way through central Delhi for certain trips. Instead of forcing passengers into the congested center just to switch lines and go back out, it creates a fast, direct circle around the city. The time saved for commuters taking this orbital route is literally going to be immense.
All right, let's zoom out a little for Section 5, extending the metro network into the newly approved frontiers.
Beyond those core 3 corridors we just talked about, the government actually just approved multiple extensions that push the metro out to completely new boundaries. Let me quickly guide you through the numbers. First, we have the elevated Lajpat Nagar to Saket G block line, adding about 8.4 kilometers and 8 stations to greatly improve South Delhi connectivity. Then, there's the Inderlok to Indraprastha corridor, giving us roughly 12.4 kilometers and 10 stations, beautifully linking West Delhi straight into the city center. And finally, the big one, the Rithala to Narela to Kundli extension. We're talking almost 26.5 kilometers and 21 stations. This one is an absolute game changer because it stretches regional integration all the way out into northwest Delhi and right toward the Haryana border.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 6, the bigger picture and integrating the future.
It's really time to step back and look at the macro vision of Delhi's mobility here. When you view all these new corridors together, a very clear strategy emerges. They are systematically building better interchanges, creating much shorter journey times, and forging stronger airport connectivity. But incredibly importantly, they are establishing seamless integration with the Namo Bharat Regional Rapid Transit System. That means seamlessly linking the local metro with high-speed regional rail. It's all about knitting different types of transit into one giant cohesive web.
And this perfectly illustrates our core takeaway for today. This is exactly how mature metro systems evolve. They transform from a random collection of isolated lines into a deeply integrated, breathing, regional mobility network. Phase IV isn't just about adding some steel tracks. It fundamentally changes the very DNA of Delhi's infrastructure, turning it into a true megacity transit system that is completely ready to handle the demands of the decades ahead.
But of course, a metro system alone cannot completely transform a city. All those shiny new stations still need to be connected by roads, flyovers, expressways, and last-mile transport. Which brings me to a final, provocative thought to leave you with today. When this entire mega network is finally plugged in and switched on, which parts of Delhi do you think will actually benefit the most from this ultimate connectivity? Well, we are going to explore exactly that in our next explainer, where we dive into Delhi's biggest road and expressway projects to see how they perfectly complement this expanding rail network. You definitely won't want to miss that. Until then, stay curious and thanks so much for joining me.